as crazy as this might sound, the sensation I get is, I mean, even when I'm talking on podcasts or with other individuals about these sorts of having these kinds of conversations, um, it's almost like I don't have a filter anymore and just things come out,
Right. Yeah, right.
um, it's not, I'm not, thinking ahead, I'm going to say this or I'm going to say that. It's like,
Mhm.
no, because I know this on a deep level. I know this to be true, that it's possible to live this way, to have the quiet in your mind and the stillness in the background all the time. But it's not practiced much, or I haven't seen it practiced much.
Right, yeah, definitely. Well, like you said, it's because no one talks about it. It's almost I've rarely heard people go, you got to work towards like silencing your mind. I've almost never heard that. Like it's not talked about nearly enough that like the practices you share and the practices you've done, I've almost never heard of these things.
Really?
Yeah, no, because like I've never heard it advertised to have a quiet mind, which is now that I'm thinking about it, it's kind of crazy. I feel like that's ideal, but my brain is like this all the time, and I think it has something to do with like this hardwiring, and you've mentioned this earlier, but like this idea that society wants you to work, and think, and act. It's like you have to do 9 to 5, you have to do this, you have to do that. And I think that's just hardwired into a lot of our brains, that we have to work all the time, we have to think about work all the time. um, and it's just not talked about enough, where you have to look back and go, just chill out for a second, give your brain some time to relax every day, and like give it a little restart.
I'm a huge proponent of meditating.
Mm,
And, I mean, it has, for whatever reason, people say, oh, it's woo woo or whatever. I'm all about woo woo. You know what? Because
mhm.
this other way is not working. People are freaked out and
No.
upset all the time. That's not working. You
Mm-mm.
meet woo woo people, they're pretty
They're
happy,
happy
right?
all the time.
Yeah. So,
Like, yeah.
I get kind of sick of that whole like idea of the woo woo thing. And the reality is I can have a conversation all day long about business,
Hmm.
but that's not the thing that lights me up. So, we talk about like creating meaning in your life. You want to be doing the things that are lighting you up all the time, not a
Oh,
9 to 5 job where you're just grinding it out. That's not
right.
the thing.
Yeah.
And we sort of got this sold this bill of goods about, success looks like, this house and this car and this neighborhood with this kind of job and all the things, and I'm here to tell you, I've had all those things. Happiness was like a blip.
Mm.
It happened. And then I went to something else. I was like, oh, I had all the success and the money and all the things I wanted. Then I went to, let me punish my body, right? So
Right.
let me first start, over exercising and doing CrossFit, and then doing triathlons, and then training for a half Ironman, and then getting a concussion because, like, that's not the way either. I literally was like, train for an iron, or not an Ironman, a regular triathlon,
Hmm.
get to the finish line, go, oh my God, I did that. And then I would go home and look for the next thing.
Just nonstop.
That's not happiness.
Mhm.
Happiness is not a location externally, it's internal. And until we can get that message on a very deep level, this rigmarole is going to continue because we keep seeing all the images. Happiness looks like success, and success looks like this, and it means this car and that neighborhood and all those things and this relationship and all this perfection BS that is not real.
Mhm. Right.
What's real is this right here, this conversation. This is real.
Mhm.
This is about internally creating an environment that is unaffected by the external environment at all. Like
Right.
nobody and no thing,
Mhm.
right? And that comes from things like meditation. That comes from quieting the mind And what happens when your mind is quiet? Guess what? It's peaceful,
Mm,
right?
right.
And when you can start your day in a place like that, or through a visualization process, I teach a visualization process that just gets you on fire.
Mm-hmm.
Like this, the visualization process without all the details. If I asked you to visualize your life, the day in the life of everything you ever wanted, and I'm talking all the stuff, right? Like the car, the house, the relationship, the money. I mean, I love abundance. Don't get me wrong. I got nothing wrong with money. Money is great. I love
Yeah.
it.
Right.
But it's not the thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because the thing is we want that thing because we think that that thing is going to make us feel good.
Right.
Like
It's
we
gonna fix
want that
us.
because we think when we have that, we will be happy.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know this intellectually, but we don't live it. The happy is not there. It's that blip I talked about. It happens for a minute and then it's like, what next?
Right.
Right? But I want the what next in your life to be like, what next? I'm going to impact more people. I'm going to share with them that they have value. They don't need to do anything or have anything or be anybody to have value
Mm,
because your existence matters regardless. So if
right.
that's the case, then maybe you could look at your life and go, what is my unique gift I have to offer this world? Because I believe everybody has a unique gift, and concentrate on that,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because part of what makes people happy is helping other people, right? So when you find your unique gift, you can help other people feel good. And guess what? You feel really good too. It's
Yeah.
like, and that's as simple as it is, but it goes completely against everything that we're taught. So
I
it's
know.
like, it sort of doesn't make sense, but it does, right? I mean, on a deeper level, you understand what I'm saying is
Of,
true.
of course.
Yeah. And I think most people do too. But then the next challenge becomes, okay, if you understand that and you are willing to put in the work, the practice of it, you're still going to be butting against a lot of people, right?
Right. Yeah.
Because most people don't think like this and don't live their life this way.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to fill yourself up too. You know, that means having the people around you that believe the same stuff as you and tapping into, you know, people that write meaningful books that speak to your soul and having these kinds of conversations and, you know, helping people. I mean, and doesn't that sound great? Doesn't that sound meaningful?
That sounds way better.
Right? Than
Like
like
way better.
grinding it out at a 9 to 5.
Oh, yeah, no. Yeah, no, what's crazy to me is that like you said the yoo-hoos, the woohoos, they're like society calls them crazy, which is so baffling because they're at peace in mind, they're happy, they're like comfortable with who they are, and society looks at that and goes, "That's weird. Like don't be like them."
Right?
What? Isn't that what we're striving to be? Comfortable with ourselves and happy with who we are?
Yeah, I mean, I think so, but that's kind of like that. It's so weird, right? I mean, it's like we get that message, but nobody follows through on it, right?
Right.
It's like
Yeah.
intellectually we understand a lot of these things, but nobody ever does the how do we get there? How do we understand this on a deeper level? How do we actually practice this way of being versus the other? And you know, and that's kind of the challenging part is the butting up against, right? You know, not having well, I don't, for lack of a better word, like the role models, you know, I mean, there
Mm.
are definitely people out there that are, you know, would say I'm preaching to the choir, but they're still few and far between. And so it's sort of like forging a new road, right? It's kind of
Right.
paving a new path to a different way and trying to understand how do I, you know, keep recognizing this as the truth versus the other, because the other one's sort of like in our face all the time.